My name is Louise. For those of you who don't know me, I do research and writing at Curve Labs. And lately, as Pat said, I was working on analyzing MRV for ReFi. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. This is what we're going to cover. First, I'm going to define, as I said. So MRV, what it is, why is it important? I'm then going to cover what are the MRV processes that can be useful for regenerative finance projects, and then cover rapidly what are MRV methodologies that are already currently being used in ReFi. So first, MRV, what are we talking about? Measurement, reporting, and verification. There are the processes that refer to the accounting and measurement of impact as such. So measurement refers to the data collection, can be done with diverse means such as satellite, IoT, participatory surveys. Reporting refers to the measured data, the methodologies that were used to collect and analyze it. And verification is the reviewing process, so making sure that the data that we collected is valid and trustable. Why do we care? Why is it so important to do MRV? I'm going to show you a small video that comes from the documentary Seaspiracy on Netflix. There are subtitles.
Shocking is that most people don't realize is that it ships red whales and dolphins.
Thank you. Where is it? Or there's no sound, but it's okay. Yeah. Back to this. So yeah, basically, I think you got the point. MRV conveys the very legitimacy of any type of project that you conduct. That's why it's important. So before I dive into MRV for ReFi, I'm going to define regenerative finance because not everyone is familiar with it. ReFi is the contraction of regenerative finance, and it's basically employing any decentralized or Web3 tool to have a positive social or environmental impact in the world or in the society. So ReFi projects need MRV, obviously, when they have some sort of project on the ground. What they first need to do is to gather the data. So this is a table that sums up examples of MRV data providers. There are three main categories: satellites, IoT, so sensors, and boots on the ground, which refers to human verification on the ground. And then there is what I call data aggregators that will take care of it for you of aggregating different types of data sources to make your work easier. After you have your data, you can do data analysis. Those are examples of organizations or frameworks that will take the data that you fed in, analyze it, and give you the answer for certain parameters. For example, carbon asset solution will tell you how much carbon you store in your soil. And you can have something a bit more sophisticated, like WildSense, that just reframed that ecosystem restoration standard. Basically will analyze the data for you and tell you if you fit into a certain standard or not. Those are three terms, three branches of MRV that can be interesting for you to know. There is first DMRV, D capital letter, that is digital measurement, reporting, and verification. So this includes any digital way of reporting what's going on, for example, satellite imageries. Something important of note is that I've never came across any MRV methodology that was fully digitized. Maybe it exists, I haven't seen it. Typically, there is always a human somewhere in the chain that verifies. There is the DMRV with a small d. This is very specific to Web3, decentralized measurement, reporting, and verification. A good example is dmeter. So what I want to do is that instead of having all of the MRV processes being centralized and controlled by one entity, is to decentralize it through a DAO, and the community can decide how MRV is being conducted. It's a very new field. It's not competitive at this point, but maybe one day will be. And finally, there is participatory measurement, reporting, and verification. Here it's also focused on the community. It means that the community will verify, report, measure each other. For example, in the participatory guarantee system, it's organic food in India, I think. And it's a group of people that know each other, and they go on each other's farm and look if the practices are right or not. The problem with that is that it's obviously very hardly scalable to something larger than a small community. Problems with slides. Sorry about that. Okay, now MRV in ReFi. So how are the processes being used already in the ReFi space? This is the sort of table that sums up for the main ReFi project. We have Regen Network, Open Forest, OpenRP, Novi, Gainforest, and Avano, or Demeter, depends. One thing of note on this table is that when you compare those ReFi projects' MRV methodology to the traditional one, legacy ones, for example, Vera, Gold Standard, there are two major differences in terms of costs, in terms of project size. And what typical traditional legacy methodologies will do is that they cost a lot of money and they exclude a lot of people. What ReFi is trying to do in terms of MRV methodology is to open up the door to even small projects, even projects with farmers that don't have the resources to pay for legacy methodologies. And finally, here is also something of note, something I wanted to highlight, is that in ReFi, if we look at the TRL levels, so technology readiness levels, we see that no one is yet fully competitive, and that most of them are still at the concept or the formulation level, which means that doesn't matter what you hear in the refi space, writing your own MRV methodology takes time and is excessively complex. And even though we have very old players such as Regen Network, they still don't have a fully competitive system. No, something of note. Voila, I think we don't have much time for questions.
Maybe one or two questions if you guys have.
One or two questions, maybe?
Okay.
Sorry, for someone who's been into nature conservation, I still want to understand what ReFi is and how that would be applied to this dolphin project. So just to get a sense of, the flow of this concept, practice.
You mean how would ReFi be applied to the dolphin case?
Yes, and MRV. How would you do that?
That's a very good question. I don't have the answer of how we can apply a whole MRV system to the dolphin case. I just know that...
Talk about Posidonia.
Yeah.
Or another example.
So one thing on your list, which just drew my attention, was this participatory guarantee system. The dolphin person was talking about there's no guarantee. And I don't know, of course, what's behind it, but I believe that's basically this peer system checking up on each other. But how do you apply it?
Highly dependent on.
Yeah, totally. And
Just fine.
The fact that the data on the blockchain also would be immutable and verifiable. So we could imagine that's also what one of the project called Synergy is trying to do, is building a peer MRV system on the blockchain, so participatory verification system that would involve Web3 technology and would be potentially decentralized. That could be an answer to the dolphin case, I imagine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And in addition to that, like going back to basics, blockchain is just like, if we zoom out, it's a data system which cannot be manipulated. So if you're like traditional data collection systems, like most of the carbon accounting system is broken because most of the data is coming from like centralized sources, which can be manipulated in many ways. So that's why, for example, decentralized measurement in concept makes lots of sense.
No, it's fine. There's no answer. It's fine. But I get your point.
No, I'm not defining it.
Yeah.
Just giving, yeah.
But the dolphin case is good, right? Because it's so tricky, right? How do you approach that? It's like, and the people that are on the boat, they are part of it, right? So you bring satellite monitoring to see if, there's actually dolphin in it. Now, so you have to approach each problem and type of climate project a little bit differently, right? So solar panel and biofuels and forest and fisheries will be different, but there are tools that exist, right? And you can also reward people for being good actors and put penalty on people for being bad actors. And you can have the people involved to actually report on the good and the bad actors as well. So there are a few systems you can think about gradually. But I think for the dolphin case, it's just sad, and that's the way it is. So we have to, but it's a good thing to tackle if you guys are looking for a problem to tackle. Many. One more question.
I guess like the big promise of all of these systems is that they can scale MRV and therefore carbon credits supply really fast. But you said that they're all very nascent and they all have problems. What would you say are like the one or two biggest barriers to getting one of those protocols to scale?
Funding?
Right.
Yeah, I would say so, because they have very good ideas, and like the concept for most of them. For example, I'm thinking of Regen Network. They're trying to build a library of MRV methodologies with the Regen registry, which is a very interesting idea. The reason for me why they aren't fully competitive now is because it takes time and funding to develop something like this. And yeah, this is what I wanted to highlight with the TRL levels, is that having an ID is not enough, and it really takes time to put that in place and to be fully accepted and competitive. Yeah.
Maybe I say also like you need people that care about data more than a label that will tell you, hey, buy that. Right? So it's not because the project is Vera or gold standard certified that you need to buy it, and the market is still recognizing that as a trust element. And it's not yet so much recognizing that, oh, if you have pure data, verifiable, MRV backed, then that's something I can buy into it. And if we had that, then we could leverage much more finance and funding for more of this project to happen at scale. So maybe that's also one answer.
So, because it seems like there is a lot of demand for voluntary carbon in general, right? You're saying that it's just demand going to the wrong bit of the market.
Yeah, right now, if you look at the people who buy in bulk these credits, right, they go mainly to agencies that have been there traditionally in the space and they represent 90% of the market. We're yet to see the reversal with the MRV project that bring full transparency and integrity, right? You will still need to have counterparties for your risks and people you can trust and agencies and third parties and so on, but it can be kind of embedded with more or like a better data MRV. And I was naming Gold Standard and Vera, but they are both very involved in MRV as well, because they just reconnect. It's niche, right? So.
Gold Standard is actually working right now with Google. They got a grant to actually start implementing an MRV, and they have 2 pilots running with an organization also part of the climate change in Chile.
Is that small D or big, large D? Yeah.
Sorry?
Is that small D or large D? Sorry, you made a distinction between decentralized MRV and digital.
Yeah, maybe I should precise that this is not, it's my own way of seeing things, and a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. I know that Luca is writing digitized MRV with a small d.
But I think the project you're talking about, IOTA and Climate Check,
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to decentralize because a lot of data, what they try to do is to get directly from sensor into oracles. So the
Yeah,
data stuff.
you have different kind of data. Some of them are collected directly from the sensors, and then you have actually people inputting the data. But they implemented also a system which they created in which, depending on how the data was collected or processed, get certain rights. And that goes to the platform that is accessible by climate researchers, so they can see how much they can tell the data according to how it was collected and how it was processed. And of course, data was manually collected after the scores because at the end you have human errors or alterations rather than with the sensors.
If I can add one more thing to this question, regulatory is a big problem right now. We have tokens on our balance sheet as a company. We did not have guidance from the German tax office until last summer. This is, Bitcoin was created in 2009, that guidance published in 2022. I was refused a bank account last week because we work in blockchain. These assets are blockchain assets. They are tapping into the open liquidity environment that blockchain has to offer. And when banks push back and deny liquidity flowing into this sector, and deny the opportunities for the global south to develop itself through the creation of these assets, that is regulatory capture.
It depends on the bank, though.
It does.
And also, the Commission just negotiated a tax law which includes crypto, which this starts to be enforced, and you have like unanimity on like how the national regulation is going to work in that regard.
Things are going well in Europe, but the US is a mess.
Yeah, well, not only in regards to crypto.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.